Welcome to the 32nd Annual Lebanon Council of Garden Clubs Garden Tour, and we are so excited this year to present to you 3 generations on farmland. We're going to have the Van Harlogen farmland on the tour this year, and today we have Vicki Van Harlogen going to give us a little bit of history about this beautiful property and the gardens on it. And let's just take a peek and see what Vicki has to say. Vicki, thanks so much for joining us today and for the tour.
Yes, our pleasure.
And I just want to say we appreciate all the work that you've done for Lebanon in your work with the Warren County Historical Society,
thank you.
with the garden tour, and the many different boards that you have served on too. So thank you so much for touting Lebanon. And thanks for sharing your garden with us this year.
We're happy to do it. We've been here since 1955 on this property, and my dad was a doctor here, and so he was a gentleman farmer, but we always had cattle, and from time to time we had sheep, and we had pigs, and we had this and we had that, and so we continue after all these years. This house was built new. Our farmhouse is down the road and was sold off about 30 years ago. So this house is about 30 years ago. Okay. My brother's is about 35. He's next door. And then Lydia, his daughter, is the first one on the road. Hers is by, I think, 4 or 5 years old.
All right. So
great. We just kind of keep, and my sister's house is over there. So we've all had a little piece of the farm for ourselves.
That's marvelous. It's a beautiful land. And the animals that you have on the property now are the...
I have beef cattle still. And some rescued alpacas and a donkey, and I keep some chickens.
Very good. Yeah. All right. And tell us some of the names of the alpacas, because they just are adorable.
Oh, well, there's Hollywick. She's the head alpaca. And Tabitha. Pixel is what's called an Appaloosa, and she's the best one of the bunch. And then,
just personality-wise?
No, for her fleece.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. And then Eclair is dark brown, and she's her mom's name was Cream Puff, I understand. I didn't name them. They came with names.
All right.
And the donkey is Belle.
Belle, all right. And right now they're in their sheared state of form, right?
Yes.
It's just...
Yes.
Yeah, they were much more furrier.
They've been sheared. They're, a cold climate animal, so they really suffer in the heat, but they get sheared every year regardless. So.
Great. Good.
Yeah.
Good. So that's going to be a neat thing for families to come. They can, sometimes the animals come close and they can pet them. And then sometimes they just can admire the animals from afar too, in the different parts of the land.
Yes, yes. The cattle are not friendly. They won't be coming up. Hollywick, as the lead alpaca, will sometimes let people pet them. The others, they'll stand back and go, I don't think so.
Okay, so we'll be admiring each other on the tour.
But the donkey will definitely be the social butterfly of the group.
And what kind of donkey is that?
She's a mini.
Mini, okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's going to be fun. We've never had that type of animal on the tour before, so something new and different for folks to take a peek at.
Yeah.
And you've got a variety of different garden beds. Can you just tell me some of the highlights and what some of your goals are in gardening?
Oh, okay. Well, this is my parents' house that they built as their retirement home, and I got to tell you, I think that was not a good idea as a retirement home, because they made it one level, but that spread it out, and so there is so much more foundation planning than I was used to with my usual 2-story. But as a 30-year-old landscape, I've had to tear out and start redoing a lot of stuff. So I've been here 6 years, and it's it is a work in progress.
Right.
Oh golly, and not knowing what really will fit where, and so much of the trees make a big difference that I wasn't quite used to.
So a lot of shade gardening.
A lot of shade gardening, yes. And then in the back, you'll see there's a big pond. And it was very hard, and it's a steep bank because it was a creek dammed up. And it was very hard to mow all the way to the edge of the pond without the mower sliding into the pond. So I thought, pollinator garden. I'm going to turn that in that riparian way into a pollinator garden. Well, that is a work in progress. But you can get some ideas about it, and I've been able to make some decisions about, I don't think I really want a meadow, I think I want gardens.
All right.
And so long-term vision is a border all along there, and borders over there, and borders everywhere. And
So your love of gardening just came naturally from growing up on the land then?
yes, and gardening was in the family. My grandfather was a big gardener. His father was a truck farmer in Lebanon. His farms were up around where the Y was.
Oh my gosh.
And so, you know, they had a farming background there, and we always had big vegetable gardens. My grandfather always had big flower gardens, and so yeah.
You're good. So you're a catalog shopper, you're a seed shopper, you buy things and have them grow up from the very beginnings.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot with seeds, perennial wild native plant seeds, which takes a long time. Most of them, there's a few things like the agastaches that, you know, you can plant them and they're up and they're blooming the first year. But most of the things, it's going to be 2 or 3 years before.
Got to be patient.
Yeah, you got to be patient.
Now, agastache, I don't know if I said that right.
Yeah, anise hyssop is one of them. I've got.
So it has that licorice smell to it then?
Well,
or
no,
anise smell?
not really. I
No
don't
smell?
know why they call it anise hyssop.
Okay.
But that's the one that you recognize the most. Then I've got a one called Rose Mint that I did this year, and they're little, but they're coming along. And there's a whole world of agastaches, and they're great pollinator plants. Butterflies, hummingbirds, everybody, bees.
So sometimes you're not going to see a lot of color, but you're going to see a lot of different leaf shapes, leaf colors, and a lot of insects.
Yes.
Because you're planting specifically for pollinators.
Yes. Yes. We want the monarchs. One of my most fun memories is I was walking across country through the fields from my old house on Wood, and I walked up a hill that I hadn't mowed it, and it was full of ironweed, which is something I hate, but pollinators love it. And a monarch group came through, and it was solid monarch butterflies, and I just stood there going, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. It was so exciting, and I thought, I want that back.
Was that a once in a lifetime chance that you had then?
Every fall I watch for them to see if they'll come back, and I leave ironweed around for them, but so far they haven't come back.
All right, well, I'm glad
But
you had
I mean,
that
we get a
opportunity.
few, but not masses of them.
Beautiful. Well, and we're looking forward to going to Lydia's garden that also has a lot of plants specifically for butterflies with her daughters there. They're high interest. Yeah. We're really looking forward to families coming and children coming and enjoying the properties and looking at the butterflies and the insects and just seeing the variety of different colors and things like that. So, Vicki, I appreciate you having us here, and we're looking forward to having everybody come and just enjoy the peacefulness that your property has allotted your family, and now we're going to share with our garden tour guests.
Great.
So terrific. George and Debbie Van Harlogen, thank you so much for letting us come to your property and show it off to everybody who comes to the Lebanon Council of Garden Tour on June the 25th and the 26th, 11 to 5 each day, rain or shine. But right now, we're at the reconstructed log cabin that George put together. George, can you tell us a little bit about your process here?
Well, as far as I can tell, this cabin was built in 1822 by a man named Lucan. And it was over on Jeffrey Road, over near the Cedar Creek area.
Okay.
And I had it disassembled and brought here, and then I reassembled it here back in 2008 and 2009. So that's where it is today, and it's had some renovations and things changed from its original layout, but
just like any living home.
Yeah.
It always has changes. Now I noticed the foundation is made out of river stone, river rock.
Well, yes, these are stones
Beautiful.
that I've collected from here on the property, and
it looks terrific.
Yeah, thank you.
Good. And inside, I noticed that you have a lot of antiques. Have you just enjoyed collecting and saying this is a period piece, put it in there? Or?
Well, a lot of these things I've collected over the years, and a lot of others my sister Christine has purchased at auctions for really very little money, and it all seems to fit together very well.
Well, super, super. And you guys are a big family affair. We've got Vicki who lives on this property and your daughter Lydia. You lucky, lucky grandparents. You've got two grandgirls right on the property. So how is that with sharing the land with family?
Well, you know, we give everybody has their space. We don't bother each other. I feel like we get along really well, and it's you know, they help out, I help out. Everybody's, you know, where we can when needed, and kind of mind our own business, and it works out pretty well.
And you've got so many beautiful trees and creeks and ponds. I mean, every way you look, you've got another beautiful vista to look at. It's just such a peaceful place. And so you built your house here? I mean, you picked the part of the property?
Debbie built it. She was the general contractor
gosh,
in
Debbie.
1989 and 90, and she had 10 subs that she put out, bids out, and she managed the whole thing. I had nothing to do with it.
Well, it is a beautiful spot, and thank you for making the garden around the house just gorgeous. Just so much color. People are going to enjoy all the hydrangeas and the pops of color everywhere there. And then, George, you've got a vegetable garden
That's
with
right.
a very unusual shed.
Yes, that's right.
Tell us about that.
Well, it has a decommissioned two-holer outhouse as the garden storage shed, and it sits out there right at the edge of the garden, and I don't know, it looks like it's maybe 100 years old or so, and it's very handy.
Oh my gosh. Well, now a two-holer would have come in handy for the garden tour, but we do have a gas station right down the road where people can use the restroom if they feel the need. But anyhow, you've done a great job keeping that structure alive, and it really accents the garden. So tell me about how large that vegetable garden is and what you all have growing in it.
Well, we've got two terraced portions that are probably 50 by 25, but then we have other things where we're growing on fences. Actually, they're what you might call cow or hog panels.
Okay.
So we're growing vertically, some
Sure.
beans, cantaloupe and things like that.
And then you enjoy eating all of those things.
Yes, Debbie is tremendously good at preserving and canning the product. So we're about to run out of last year's stock on most things.
That's wonderful. That's really neat because you really not only enjoy the land, you really live off the land. You know, you get to eat all of those things, and then Vicki has the cows, and it's really neat how your whole family has just enjoyed this property and used it to the best of their ability. Which reminds me, okay, you said terraced, so you have raised the vegetable.
Just enough to take the slope off of the hill to avoid runoff.
Okay.
And so that way we drain well and we don't run off. And that's the reason that was done.
Well, now Vicki had mentioned that the earth here is not as great as you'd love it to be, or
This particular soil here and is not too good. It's not the greatest. For what reasons, I'm not really sure. Maybe it was over farmed.
Okay.
I don't know. So, but it's not real good.
So that helps out too with, you know, making the slope even, and then as well as giving you a different type of dirt to grow.
Yeah,
all
and
those
I've added a lot of manure, and I've added dug topsoil out of valleys where it's accumulated and brought it up and added it to the.
Great. And that's made a big difference?
Oh yeah, it helps a lot.
That's super.
Yeah.
That is neat. Well, we appreciate, how many acres all the way here that they can traipse through?
This is probably 12.
Okay, all right. So the total property of the whole estate is about 80?
Yeah,
80.
80.
88. So thank you so much for doing all of this and for allowing us to come and enjoy all your hard work and your labors of love. We appreciate that.
Well, you're completely welcome. I'm looking forward to it.
Super, super. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We're at our third stop on the Lebanon Council of Garden Club's garden tour for June 25th and 26th. And we've got three wonderful gardeners here because you know the Van Harlogens, it runs in the family. And so we just saw your grandpa and we saw your aunt. And so now we're going to ask you guys a few questions. Is that okay?
Yes.
All right, so we have Caroline, and we have Natalie, and we have Lydia.
Yes.
So we're glad here, and we're missing your dad, Matt, and he's our native gardener, right? Right. Yeah. And I hear that your dad likes to start seeds in the refrigerator. Is that right?
Yes.
That's right. And this is one of my favorite quotes that I heard you say, and that's Natalie, right? She said, "Dad, your seed stratification is taking up too much room in our snack drawer in the refrigerator." Was that right?
It is very true.
Very good. So your dad starts those seeds in the refrigerator and you guys get to see all of that. Is that right?
Uh-huh.
That's neat to be able to learn all of those different things. And then I know you guys also take part of the fairy gardens here. Is that right?
Yeah, we have it down there.
Neat. And what do you do in the fairy garden?
I like to kind of play with it and set it up. And we have little stepping stones back in it.
Oh, neat. So you've got little gnomes and little fairies and little mushrooms, little houses. That sounds great. And it looks so magical underneath the big trees there too. Very good. All right. And then I hear that you guys, since your dad is a pharmacist, that you use a mortar and a pestle to make your own gardening concoctions. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Good. And what kind of things do you put in those
I
concoctions?
like to use different herbs like mint and all different types of
Lavender.
lavender and
Ooh,
Yes.
all that,
that
stuff
smells
that I can find out in the garden.
very good. Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun. And then you get all those wonderful smells then too, right?
Yeah.
Very good, very good. And I hear you have friends over there and they like to play in the vegetable garden. Is that right?
Yes.
That's neat. Well,
They
you
do.
have marvelous gardens that we're going to show off at the garden tour. So we really appreciate you being so kind to let us come to your garden. And then thanks for helping your parents out with all this work.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Aw.
So I hear you guys want to go play. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. Well, we'll see you later and we'll see you at the Lebanon Garden Tour, okay?
Say okay.
All right. Super. Thanks for coming. Well, Lydia, this
Yes.
place is gorgeous. How many acres do you have here?
We have 4 acres here
Okay.
that my grandma gave us. So it's fun
Wonderful.
to be back on the family farm.
Oh, it is
Yeah.
beautiful. And then do you have your grandparents right across the
Yes.
acreage?
Right. And my husband is very good with his in-laws being over there. So that's good.
That's terrific.
Yes.
It's great family time. And so can you describe some of your passions here and what you enjoy doing in your gardening?
We just love being outside, and we thought, what a better way to showcase the property than to add native plants and just make it a little lush out here, because this was a field.
Oh my gosh.
There was corn planted here before we moved in. So yeah, just to make it feel more like a home and a country garden.
Super.
Yeah.
And then so you have vegetables. Tell us about the vegetables that you grow.
I love basil and tomato together with some balsamic vinegar. So there are 14 tomato plants.
Oh my gosh.
And there are cucumbers, and some of Matt's milkweed made it into the garden too. So
Well, you got to have that cross-pollination
That's
going all over the
right.
place.
Yes.
Now, you've got like this cool pyramid in there. What's growing up that?
oh, beans. We have French lake beans growing up there.
Oh,
and
neat.
I tried to make the pyramid myself, but what we wouldn't do without Amazon. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
They do come in handy, don't
That's
they?
right.
So now, tell me about your different tomatoes, different varieties, different
I like
times?
the heirloom tomatoes.
Okay.
I think those are really good. So the Brandywine, and there are some early girl out there because I like to have my tomatoes in July.
A little quicker, right,
Yes.
right. And any miniatures or?
Yes, they're a sweet 100.
Ooh.
Those are good. They're really plentiful.
I know, that is
Yeah.
a tomato off the vine in your own garden is just so delicious.
It
so,
is,
Very
yeah.
good. And then you have a beautiful pool, and you've got a story about that. You used to have some pollinators back there, but the bees liked them too much.
Oh, goodness. Yes, we thought, wow, this would be a great place for coneflower.
Yeah.
And the bees were so profuse out there that we just couldn't enjoy the pool.
So to take those
So
out.
take those out and move towards some grasses and some hibiscus and things that they weren't going to be quite as interested
It's
in.
beautiful.
Thank
and
you.
folks will be able to look inside the fence at that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, very
Yes.
good. Very good.
Yeah.
And then now we're sitting on your back deck, which Joe Hackman, the creator of this show, he said you've got 2 front porches because this is
Aw.
just as beautiful as your front porch
That's
too.
so sweet.
you've
Thank
got
you.
herbs and things growing here.
Yes, there's herbs and there's pollinators in here. It's just a real mix. Matt likes to have his butterfly weed here because we like to just see the monarchs when we wake up in the morning. They're, they become active when the sun comes up, so it's fun to watch.
And so what got Matt interested in native plants and you in native plants? You said you wanted to fill in and make it lush, but why native?
When you drive up bypass 48 in Lebanon, it's beautiful. You see all of these white flowering trees and you think, well, that's great. Then you find out that they are invasive trees, that they're pears. And so Matt thought, all these invasives, the honeysuckle, the pear, what can I do? My little small part to kind of make a change. So that's for the animals that need a home,
Well, tell me about some of the pollinators there. Now, wait a second. The big one is the Cinderella milkweed, right?
Cinderella milkweed. I think it's popular because of the name.
Yes.
I'm not going to lie, but it is beautiful. It's got a beautiful pink flower. A lot of milkweeds you don't think of flowering,
True.
The pretty flower, but the Joe Pye weed and just the common milkweed and swamp milkweed, Cinderella milkweed, they have a beautiful, actually fragrant bloom.
So then that would definitely attract those butterflies. But now the girls got the Cinderella variety for Christmas.
They did.
What
They
a
got
neat gift.
they got a letter from Santa saying it was coming.
Ah,
Yes.
well, that's a clever way to do that. Very good.
Yes.
Oh, good. So how's it growing?
Oh, it's growing like a weed.
All right. Well, good.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes when people come to see pollinator gardens, sometimes there's not as much color, but there's a great variety of leaves and greenery and things like that. So
Yes.
when they come to see the pollinator garden, what will they see late in June?
Well, late in June, they may actually see some chrysalis out there.
Okay.
Yes, we already have some down at the street and some caterpillars that are in jays.
Very
and so be on the lookout for that out there. And yeah, sometimes, the color isn't until later when you get that ashy sunflower and maybe your coneflower a little bit more going vigorous.
Right.
So, yeah.
So it's going to be, you just see different mounds and shapes and things like that. So
Yes.
you've got a gorgeous native garden. So, but the property is vast, so that you've got to wear good walking shoes when you come to this tour.
Oh, yes. And we'll have as many holes filled in. We're going to try to not have any tripping hazards out there for anybody.
Right,
We're going
but
to try to make it as accessible
Moles
as we
live
can.
out in the country too,
Yes,
so
they
we just got to
do.
make sure that people are careful.
Yes.
That's good. And then for parking, we're going to ask everybody to park in Vicky's lot, because she said you have certain leach fields and things like that in the country. You got to be careful where you park on the grass. So we're hoping
Okay.
that our guests are very careful where they park and pay attention to the directions that we give them.
Okay.
But when they turn into, when they see your driveway, you've got this gorgeous large mailbox garden too, with all kinds of pretty
thank
flowers.
You.
Yeah.
That's very sweet.
And roses. How many rose bushes do you have? Wow.
Oh, we have quite a few.
Yes.
Matt wants to put up a sign, though, that says Charlie Brown Rose Garden, because we have had a sawfly problem. And so we've tried to eliminate those with neem oil and some different things.
Well,
Try
that'll
to
be
do it
interesting for
naturally.
people too if they've ever got that problem. And now, is that called a saw, S-A-W fly?
Yes, sawtooth, because they make your rose look like it's been sawed. Yes.
They have done a number, but it's still beautiful out
Oh,
there.
thank
so
you. I
Thanks for all
appreciate
your
that.
efforts on that.
Oh.
Well, we look forward to looking at your sun gardens, your shade gardens, and traveling from one property to the next. This will really be a fun stop on the tour where you'll be able to learn a lot too. Whether you're talking to Natalie, Carolyn, Lydia, or Matt, you'll be able to learn all kinds of wonderful things about gardening. So thank you so much for talking to us.
well,
We can't wait to see you on the tour.
Thank you, Mary Pat. We are looking forward to it.
Super.
All
Thank
right,
you.
Thanks.
I can't tell you how excited our two garden clubs that make up the Lebanon Council of Garden Clubs, Town and Country and Lebanon Garden Club, are to show you these 5 private gardens and 3 public ones this year. So we need to talk about John and Marlene Schwab's. Now, I've been waiting for this garden to be on the tour for years. They pack a punch in a small yard that you would just see glorious plants, gorgeous colors. And John has found a way to propagate what he has and move it to another spot. So you'll see a beautiful repetition of hydrangeas and other plants that blossom through various seasons. He's got color all year round. And I just love his play on gnomes. Yep. The scavenger hunt is back again. Last year we had a great time with the scavenger hunt. At each home there's going to be a gnome, but John and Marlene love to have fun. They have strollers that go by their property all the time, and he likes to put kid interest in his garden. So he's got gnomes being eaten by dinosaurs and all kinds of other statuettes that are just so much fun to look at. But at every garden, we're going to have a gnome, and you need to look for it. And also, there will be an information poster by the item that we find is most unusual about that garden. And you'll have some information to read about it. And everybody in their ticket, when they get that from the station the day of the tour, will have a scavenger hunt placard where you can put the item that's most interesting that we have highlighted by a sign and by a gnome at each garden. And if you win, you place at the end of the tour, you put your scavenger hunt card in, you give it to the hostesses who are punching the tickets at each garden, or you can come back to the station and put it in our turner. And at the end of Saturdays and the end of Sundays, we will do a drawing, and you will win a tree, a small miniature bush that has gift cards from various places that have been kind to generously donate to us. So come and enjoy the scavenger hunt and the beautiful gardens on the tour. And also we have the garden of Ron Jones. And I don't know if you remember Jean and Rosemary Shute. They were art teachers in the Lebanon district for a very long time. And back in 2015, Ron was on the tour. And Jean Shute brought Ron aside and he said, "You're really something. These colors, your combinations, you know, you really know what you're doing." So Ron took that as a very high compliment from Mr. Shute, and wait till you see his way of working boulders and rocks and evergreens. They've got so many different names, so many different types, so many different shapes. If you've seen some of those Dr. Seuss evergreens, he's got those. And he can tell you everything. A lot of our gardeners can't wait to share their information with you. So if you've got a question, ask our gardeners. One thing Ron is also very excited about is his grass. His grass has a fescue and a bluegrass combination that helps out to regenerate the grasses. And he has found that to work really well. And you'll just see his grass it's clean enough to eat an egg off of. It's just beautiful. And the way that he trims his trees, he says people don't cut back enough on their evergreens. Cut back, and he's got different shapes and fountains. He loves to go to our area nurseries and get unusual plants as well as fountain work too. So you'll be able to enjoy a really different type of garden with boulders, different rocks. He loves going to our area nurseries and picking up some beautiful rock work as well too. So Ron is a professional landscaper. He taught in the vocational schools for the Norwood School District, and so he's a good teacher. So he's looking forward for you to see some of the new things that he's put in his garden and enjoy some of the things that have grown there for years and years and years. Oh, like a magnolia tree and tricolored beech. It's just, he loves variety, and you will see it there. The colors just make it pop. And then our public spots. Dun, da, 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 we're going to be right across the train tracks to Cedar Park. It's our new park in Lebanon, and it's got all kinds of native plants and trees. They just planted them last year and a few more this year. So we just ask you to cross the train tracks and take a peek at that public park, as well as catty corner to us, the station you can see in a bird's throw, is Beetle Cabin. The Warren County Historical Society has reconstructed their log cabin, and it's got a beautiful garden walk of native plants too, right by the historical museum. So, you know, just within walking distance here, you get to see 3 beautiful gardens, including our garden that our garden clubs work so hard to maintain. And probably your high school senior, your family, wedding pictures have been taken here. We enjoy folks coming and enjoying the garden and taking pictures of its beauty. And then our other public place will be Glendower Historical Mansion, which is just right up the road too. And they have a medicinal garden that was put out by the Ohio Horticultural and the Master Gardeners work on that. And you'll see a big G made out of plants for Glendower. And it's just beautiful to walk around those grounds. And they have a $5 admission to go inside the mansion the days of the tour if you show them your garden tour ticket. So that's a nice bargain. And talking about tickets, 3 different ways to get them. One is going to the ice cream parlor, the Village Ice Cream Parlor, and try their Warrior Sundae. That's delicious. And then Brick House on Broadway, Engravery and Personal Gifts. They've been so kind for years to support the garden tour, and they are selling tickets there. Pre-sale tickets are $15. The day of the day of the tour, they're $20 anywhere. So this is the only place you can get tickets the day of the tour, and those are $20. And also a real convenience to you is to go to the Warren County Historical Society of Lebanon, Ohio. Their website, click on events, click on garden tour, and you can purchase your tickets there for the $15, but only until June the 24th. June the 25th and the 26th, the days of the tour, tickets are only available here. Once you get your voucher online or at the ice cream parlor or at Brick House on Broadway, you just come here the day of the tour, get your map, get your ticket, and off you go to a marvelous day. We have several gardens within walking distance, and then the rest you'll have to drive, obviously, especially our country gardens. You bring your color ticket with you, and they punch those at each garden. Some people say, is it handicap accessible? Well, partially. You know, we try to make special parking arrangements for those who cannot walk very far or who can just want to enjoy the gardens from the car. You obviously can't see everything, but you can see enough that way too to enjoy the gardens. We ask you to wear comfortable walking shoes because it is uneven ground. You'll be walking over some small bridges. There's a pool on the tour, so anybody who brings children, which we absolutely love, 12 and under, is free. That we ask you to keep a good hand on your children and making sure that they don't fall off a little track or fall off a little bridge or into the pool. But other than that, they'll learn a lot and have a great time with the scavenger hunt. We really appreciate the City of Lebanon, and our cameraman Joe Hackman for many, many years has been our friend and done a marvelous job filming us. So we thank the city for their support and Joe for making us look beautiful. See you June 25th, 26th, 11 to 5, rain or shine. We can't wait to show off Lebanon. See you there.